Tarshish. Other in the line of Jovan's son was called Tarsus in Hebrew, and this land was, in the eyes of the Jews, the epitome of maritime and trading power on the Pelagus. The son of Jovan and the maritime power on the Pelagus already give us the first clues about the location of the land Tarsus. In the vicinity of Jovan's land, the only remaining place is to the south, and that is Italy. Indeed, the land of Tarsus is Italy, and the people after whom it received this coveted name are the Racini, or Etruscans. The Racini or Rasians, as they called themselves, gave rise to the Hebrew Tarsus, which they probably pronounced initially as Rashis and under the influence of the Greek language became Tarsus, like Racini, Tersini. The Greeks called the Racini Tersini, and the Romans called them Tyrini, Tushi, and Etruski. We call them Racini to distinguish them from other Serbian tribes that use the name Rashans, although we can simply call them Rashans since they also called themselves Rashna or Rashans. The geographical position of the land of Tarsus corresponds precisely to Italy when considering the exposition in the Holy Scriptures, as accurately noted by Edward Wells. Wells' quadrangle of Jovan's sons aligns precisely with the locations of the lands, reading from right to left, as is done among the Jews, and from bottom to top, that is, from south to north. At the first lower right corner is Elisha, that is, Greece. At the lower left corner is Tarsus, which is Italy. At the upper right corner is Hedom, which is Macedonia and its hinterland. At the upper left corner is Rhodanum, which is Rhodania, or Gaul. Genesis chapter 10 verse 4. Having established this arrangement from the Holy Scriptures, it was not difficult for Wells to identify the corresponding lands and names of the peoples. He states, Truski, is the same as Tarsus. The name Tyrsini could originate from Tarsos, that is, Tarsus. Genesis chapter 10 verse 2. Boshar asserts that Tuscos originated from Therios, and that the Racini had the word druna in their language, which the Greeks translated as archi, meaning prince. 2.1.1.xxxii. Since the Philistines in Palestine had the term Saranum for lord, it is thought that the Greek word tyrant, originated from that. 53rd century, 212, although linguistically possible for the Greek word tyran to come from Sarakim, or druna, we maintain that this was not the case. The Greek word tyran originated from Tardan, or Terran, which was a high rank among the ancient Serbs. In Assyria, there existed the rank of Tardan, and this rank is translated into English as Commander-in-Chief. 28. We know that the Racini had various ranks and titles, including Druna and Lucuman, but they also had Tardan, or Terran, which appears as Tarkon, and what is known as Tarquin in Latin. Terran, Tardan, Tarsan, or Trsan, meant in ancient Serbian language protector, leader, and supreme commander. Kinney explains the origin of the Greek word tyrannos, and says that it originated from the Lydian word Syren. The Greeks replaced the initial letter, sigma, with tau. In the Holy Scriptures, the title, Saranum, is mentioned among the Philistines, which is the Hebrew form of the word Syren. 168th century, 89/90ths. Syren is one of the names of the god Serban. Josephus Flavius said that Tarsus is Cilicia, whose main city was called Tarsus. 75. Neither was he clear in this presentation, nor was he correctly understood. Some others saw the name of the city Tartessus in southern Spain, whose name is very similar to the name Tarsus, and declared that city to be the land of Tarsus. In fact, for a long time, they assumed that the land of Tarsus was the city of Tarsus in Cilicia. When they realized that the Old Testament speaks of Tarsus as a distant land rich in metals, they shifted to Tartessus in Spain. However, Tarsus is associated with Jovan, and Spain cannot be geographically connected with Jovan, nor can Cilicia. The first to realize that Tarsus is the Racini was the German noble, who argued that the Racini first arrived in Baetica and gave it their name. Above all, it should be noted that in the Holy Scriptures, a land is not named after a city, as that would imply limiting the name to that specific city, and here we are dealing with lands, not cities. It is not possible to consider one city as the land of Tarsus. Therefore, it is not possible to take Tarsus in Cilicia or Tartessus in Spain as Tarsus. The Racini migrated from Asia Minor to Italy during the expedition of Serban, simultaneously with their neighbors, the Iberians, who went to Spain. Herodotus tells us that the Racini, whom he calls Tyrrhenians, moved from Ludea to Italy under the leadership of someone named Tyrrhenus and were named Tyrrhenians after him. 39.1.94, Herodotus' statement is generally correct, but not in terms of specific names. Tyrrhenus is most likely a Greek rendition of the title, Tartan, which is a rank, not a name. It's possible that they had a leader with such a title, but the main leader was Serban, and they were called Serbs, or Sardanians, after him. Evidence for this is found in Herodotus himself. Specifically, on the southern coast of Italy, the Racini and Dardani settled together, collectively referred to as Serbs, as evidenced by the name of the sea they were on. Here, we will convey a story from Herodotus in his first book, section 166, about the unfortunate fate of the Greek Phocians from Asia Minor. These Phocians sailed on numerous ships and settled in Corsica, on its northern coast in a place called Illyria. The Rumiani referred to this city in this way, the Greeks called it Eulalia, and Diodorus named it Calaris, stating that the Phocians founded it at that time. If they founded it, being Greeks, why then do they use two names for the same city? When the Phocians settled in Illyria, Corsica, they engaged primarily in piracy and raiding. They plundered neighboring lands, particularly the Racini coast of Italy, which was developed and wealthy, and closest to them. Since they also attacked Carthaginian possessions in Sardinia, the Racini reached an agreement with the Carthaginians to eliminate these attacks. They prepared a joint fleet of 60 ships on the southern coast of present-day Tuscany. Upon learning of these preparations, the Phocians set sail with an equal number of ships to destroy this Racini navy. Herodotus says that the Phocians sailed ahead of the Racini into the Sardonian Sea, Sardunian, and fought a battle there. He then mentions that the Greeks achieved a Cadmean victory, which is the same as a Pyrrhic victory. However, judging by the events after the battle, it turns out that the Greeks lost that battle. Of their 60 ships, 40 remained immobilized at the battle site, and only 20, less damaged, could sail to Corsica. The Racini dragged the surviving Greeks with 40 wrecked ships ashore near the city of Agila, later known as Caere in modern Cervetri, where they killed them all. The pulling of the Greeks with wrecked ships ashore tells us that the battle was fought close to the coast. Otherwise, it would not have been possible to do so. This event took place in the modern Tyrrhenian Sea, which was still called the Sardonian Sea, in Herodotus's time, or the Serbian Sea. The Greeks called them Tyrsini, and later the Latins called them Tyrrheni, but alongside Racini, they were also called Serbs, and so they named their sea. Some contemporary publishers of Herodotus try to conceal the location of this battle by excising portions of the text, thereby hiding the fact that the Tyrrhenian Sea was once called the Serbian Sea. However, facts are stubborn. I still needed to review all editions of Herodotus that I knew existed to find the excised parts and establish the truth. In this, one English edition from 1584 and the University of Chicago edition from 1987 proved quite helpful to me. When all this is taken into account, it becomes clear why they accused Herodotus of being malicious and not a good Hellen. In reality, Herodotus was a Hellenized Serb and a follower of his great predecessor and role model, the Serbin from Sardis, whose name the Greeks altered to Xanthus. The Racini did not migrate from Judea to Italy due to bad years and famine, as Herodotus portrayed it, but rather as conquerors, when Serbian tribes from Asia Minor were in the heyday of strength and power, led by a great commander. After Crete, they took over Thalassocracy on the Pelagus, and it is said that it was precisely the Judea that held Thalassocracy for nearly a century. Boser says that they settled at that time in the Peloponnese, Caria, and Italy. In this Ludine Thalassocracy, the Racini are included, as they come from Ludea. Ovid refers to the Racini as Mwans. Meonia was the name for the land in Asia Minor later known as Phrygia or Ludea. In the Holy Scriptures, careful consideration is always given to the place of origin of a people who migrated to another land, as we have already seen. This is evident once again in the case of Josephus Flavius, who adheres to Jewish tradition. He associates Tarsus with Cilicia, but under Cilicia, there are also areas that were under Judea. This leads us to the idea that a significant portion of the Racini who migrated to Italy, if not all, had their origins in Cilicia. Hence, the name of the city Tartessus in Spain, built by the Racini, can be explained. The question may arise regarding the actual name of the city Tarsa in Cilicia, Tars or Ras. We received the former name through the Greeks, and we know that they transformed the Serbian name Rasani into Thracians. We can accept that the origin of the Racini is connected to Cilicia, but not the Tarsus from the Old Testament with the city of Tarsus in Cilicia, as in Hebrew and all Semitic languages. The city of Tarsus is written as Tarzi, not Tarshish.